Hey guys, good to talk to you all. So I'm talking to you on Monday afternoon, about 3 o'clock, and I'm talking to you from Grenada. So this video is going to be a video in two parts. The first part about my lovely walk, coastal walk, and my time down in that campsite on the coast where I spent 3 nights now. And the second part is going to be about where I spent last night and why. And it wasn't good. So let's go into first part and then I come back in and we'll do the second part. So my walk was interesting. I'm showing you here the beach where I started off and the beautiful sunrise. It really, really was quite spectacular. The walk in total that I did was 20k. So 10k out and 10k back. And I think what was interesting about the walk was the first thing was that, of course, it's a linear walk and it was flat. So it was easy. And I did a 20k. I could probably have done another 10. But what was interesting about it was that Spain has these promenades. And you can see here as you look at the video that lots of different surfaces. So sand, gravel, tiled, cobblestones, bridges, all sorts of different surfaces, and all walking through residential areas, walking through commercial areas, marina areas, beach areas, walking alongside old roads, and some not so old, some big modern roads. Seeing some old buildings, it was sort of strange to see these small churches and small houses stuck there and then surrounded by these huge apartment blocks or new developments or commercial developments. And you can see that once upon a time, many of these places were old fishing villages. So that was really interesting. And the fact that it's so long, I don't know how long that walk goes. Somebody told me it's part of one of the GR routes and that you can walk from there to the Black Sea, which would be something else. But the coastal route itself there's probably, I don't know, 30, 40 kilometres, maybe 50 kilometres of walk, like one big promenade, which I find absolutely incredible the way they've joined up all the towns. So that was really, really nice. And I'll show you now where I had my little break halfway. Okay, guys, good morning. It is, not sure what time it is actually. On Sunday morning, and I've just done 10k out, and I'm going to have a quick cup of tea, or a little bit of it anyway, and then do the 10k back. Absolutely beautiful morning. Watched the sun come up on the beach, walked along the coast, really varied terrain, very easy, very little climbing, even though there were bits and pieces of climbing where you went away from the beach and climbed up sort of a pathway and back down again, but generally flat and easy. Lovely walk. Okay, so here's the second part of today's video. So that was Sunday and today is Monday. So I finished my walk, went back to the campsite, had my shower and shave, and I bought a nice baguette and put it in the van to eat later. And I hit the road. And my goal was to go to Grenada, which I did. I drove up to Grenada and I found a place called Dillar that I wanted to stay in and I wanted to walk from. Now, I had a look around Dillar and there was nothing there to see. And I went down and saw where the walk started, and it was a lovely area. I said, fine, nothing to do for the rest of the afternoon. I'll go in and have a look at Grenada. So I went in and drove around Grenada, didn't get out, didn't look at anything much, just had a look at the city. And then I keyed into the Google Maps, take me back to Dillar. And it took me back, and I noticed that it was going to take me back a different route, but paid no attention to it until the road became a smaller road, and then it became a unpaved road. But there were a lot of cars on us driving up and down. And after a few kilometres, it came to a big parking area. And then I looked at my map and I said, continue on. And I noticed a little sort of a narrow, stony, very steep road going down to Dillar. I said, well, I've come this far. I can't go back. So I'll continue on. And it said, you'll be there in 6 minutes. So I drove down this road, and as I drove down it got worse and worse. And eventually it became a tiny little road, all rocks, all switchbacks, incredibly steep, quite scary. I have to be honest now and say, you'll see what happened afterwards. Really, really scary. And then all of a sudden I came to a dead end with a drop and no road. No, and I saw on Google Maps it says you're here, you're in Dillar. Well, I wasn't. And it transpires, as I found out subsequently, that in summertime particularly, at least once a week, somebody has to go and tow camper vans and cars and bikes and things out of there because Google Maps sends them down there when it's supposed to send them to somewhere else. So I got down the end. I tried to reverse back a bit to see if I could turn. I couldn't. In fact, I was burning the clutch. I could smell and see the smoke coming up from the clutch. I stopped. So I was there stuck. And this is about 5 o'clock in the evening. And in the middle of absolutely nowhere now. This is you see the photo here. You can see where the van was parked, surrounded by enormous mountains and deep ravines. So I walked back up the mountain, and it was getting dark, and I was getting concerned. And I rang the emergency number 112, and told them that I was trapped and stuck. Sent them my location. And they said they would send the Rangers to me. Now, that was a big, long rigmarole. That took about an hour, but that was the bottom line. And I had sent them my geolocation, and I sent them a text as well, a WhatsApp, saying, I have to go back down to the camper van. It's getting dark. It's really cold up here. And I'm afraid that if it gets dark, I'll fall and I'll hurt myself. And that my camper van's about 500 to 1,000 metres. In fact, it was 2,000 metres, it turned out, below where I am now. And so off I went down, and I waited, no sign of anybody coming to my aid. And so what could I do? It got pitch dark, and it came to about 7:30, 8 o'clock. And I hadn't eaten. I had my sandwich in Dillar the first time I went there, and I hadn't eaten. And I really was feeling so worried and so stressed and so concerned about it all that I didn't want to eat or drink anything. The camper was like this, so I couldn't sleep on the bed. And so pretty much I sat up all night and waited till dawn. And at about 7:30, I got out and I went back. And I was very concerned. I feel rocks and everything under the wheels. I was very concerned that it was so steep that the handbrake and the gears, that somehow she'd slide, and the gears and handbrake wouldn't matter. Just slide to the dirt and slide over into the ravine. And so even when I was in the van at night time, every time I heard something, I felt a movement, I sort of jumped. And so anyway, to cut a long story short, I went back up in the morning, and I rang the emergency service again. They said, oh yeah, they came out to you, but they couldn't find you. And I said, but told you I was down the bottom of the trail. Anyway, they contacted the Rangers again. And about 9 o'clock, the two nicest people in the world showed up. I mean, absolutely wonderful people. And then other people showed up, workers and whatever. They were doing a job up there. And everybody was helping me. You could see I was frozen. And I really was, actually. I was shivering with the cold. So they wrapped me all up, and they sat me in their cars and turned on the heating full blast and offered me mandarins, oranges and things. And they all got busy working on my behalf, calling the emergency services, doing this, doing that. So eventually they tracked down the local farmer, who apparently had a sort of side hustle, pulling people out. And he was up in Grenada, so they drove me down to where his mum lives, on the farm, and where there's a big restaurant. And I sat there for a while, and eventually he showed up in his tractor. Showed up in his car, but he pulled out his tractor, huge, about 6 or 8 tractors, huge tractors. He must have an enormous farm. And he drove down to where the camper was, and he hitched up the hitch on the back of this, and he pulled me up far enough so I could roll forward and turn in and back a couple of times. It was very, very scary. I mean, the other side, when I was reversing back, was a sheer drop. And we're talking about hundreds of feet here, like really, really scary. And the van was slipping and sliding. But eventually I got it turned, and then we screwed in the bolt that goes into the front of it that you can tow from, hitch it up, and he dragged me, and I just steered, no engine running, but not in gear, no nothing, just steering. He dragged me the whole way back up, and we almost got the top, and the big pin on the front, the bolt snapped, and I thought, oh my God, what am I going to do? And he said, listen, he said, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to tear way ahead of you, and you're going to put your boot down. He said, the last bit is pretty level, i.e. not as inclined, but terribly rough. He said, and you just go in first gear and go hell for leather and just keep going. And so I went flying up and down these, oh my God, things the width of your kitchen table, in the freaking camper van, sliding all over the place, over rocks and everything. But I made it to the top. And I was almost in tears, I have to be honest with you now. It scared the bejesus out of me. And when I got up, I just sat down for a few minutes. And so the guy was heading off. I wanted to pay him. He said, no money. But I insisted on paying him. I gave him 100 quid for pulling me up. And it was the best 100 quid I ever spent in my life. And I sort of sat down for half an hour in a state of shock. And like recovered sufficiently to pack everything away in the van, and drove down to follow the way up, the way I'd come up, follow that dirt trail and back onto the road and back down to Grenada. Filled up the tank with gas, washed the van, and then found the nearest decent looking campsite, which is where I am now, and pulled in. It was a really, really difficult. I'm going to show you a couple of clips here now, and you'll see how I was feeling, and you'll see how worried I looked. So, I got an update. I am trapped. You can't actually see it, but off down there's a yellow building, and my van is down there beside it. Google Maps took me down this little dirt road, and it came to a dead end. A really dodgy road, and it just came to a dead end, and I can't reverse out, I can't turn, I can't do anything. So I've called the emergency services, and I'm standing up here way up above it. I go up to get a signal, and I'm freezing. It's very cold up here, and hoping to God somebody rings me back. So I'm back in the camper van. I was able to get my location. I went up the hill, well up the mountain, and I was able to get a signal and WhatsApp my location to the emergency services. But then I had to come back down here to the van. It was bloody cold up there, and it's pitch dark now. I was afraid to stay up there. I thought I'd break my neck coming back down. So I'm right down the bottom of the dirt road. I'm at a serious angle. I have the car in gear and I have the handbrake on. When I was trying to reverse, I could smell I was burning out the clutch. So I'm really stymied. This is a disaster. And I can say it's all part of the adventure and be very philosophical about it. But I don't know how the hell they're going to get me out of here. And I'm not expecting to see anybody tonight. I put a light outside on the outside of the van. I've turned it on so that if anybody comes, or if they're up where I gave them my location from, they will see the light down below, I hope. So yeah, what a disaster. How stupid can you get? I mean, Google Maps. Oh, and the minute I left the hardcore road, I should have said, hang on, or I should have said stop and turned around. I mean, it's taken me down to the end of a dirt track in a valley with cliffs right beside me, straight over the edge. I mean, it's freaking scary. And this is where it took me to get me to my destination. And it comes to nothing, comes to a dead end. It's not Dillar, it's not where I asked it to take me to. I'm I'm not blaming Google Maps, I'm blaming my own stupidity for not stopping when I saw where I was, way back up at the top. Anyway, here I am, and I don't know how I'm going to sleep in this at this angle. I just hope to God the emergency services show up. So good morning. It's Monday morning, and it's just after 8 o'clock. And you can see where I am. I am up in the mountains, guys, and I'm seriously in trouble. So, like I said last night, I drove down this laneway here, and it looked okay there, but it got worse and worse and worse, and there was nowhere to turn. And eventually I came to the end of it, and I'm stuck. I can't reverse. I think I half burnt out the clutch last night trying to reverse up so I could try and turn it. Can't reverse up. I can't turn it. And so I called the emergency services, and apparently they came, but I had explained to the lady that I would be 500 to 1,000 metres further on the track because I had no signal down where I am. And obviously they came last night, couldn't see me where they got the coordinates from Google Maps I'd sent them, and off they went. And so I just rang them again, and she said she'd contact them and I should expect to hear from them. So it's cold. I didn't sleep a wink. I had a terrible night. And not just that the car or the van's at an angle like that, but because I was petrified. I'd rocks put underneath the wheels, and I was petrified the bloody thing would keep going and go over the edge. And but I couldn't sleep outside the van. It was just too cold up here. So anyway, yeah. what an idiot I am. What an absolute fool. And you know, I mean, following Google Maps, I know I should know better than that. I followed Google Maps before on my bike. I got into all sorts of trouble, and here I'm getting to the same kind of trouble in the van. So fingers crossed, guys, that the emergency services show up and that they can help me. All that I need really is to get the van pulled back, towed up a little bit where there's a turning space so I can actually turn the van, and then something to give me a tow while I sort of drive up in first gear, drive back up the trail. So I tell you, I prayed to gods last night that I didn't know existed, and I prayed to Mum for sure and asked her to help me. So there you go, here I am. What a fool, eh? But all's good that, or all's well that ends well. And so I'm here in Grenada. I'm not going anywhere. I just had I got two big bull meat burgers in the supermarket, and I fried them up, and I made myself two big burgers with big salad. And because I hadn't eaten since I had a sandwich. That's what I had yesterday at lunchtime. That's it. Apart from a couple of great dates I had this morning. In fact, a box of dates that John Brady, my good friend, gave me. And I had a few of those this morning. And that's what kept me going. So I have no idea what I'm going to do tomorrow. I'm not going to even plan tonight. I'm just going to sit down now, and I'm going to rest and recover. Because that was genuinely a very, very stressful experience. So it reminded me actually of a few times in Morocco on the motorbike when I found myself in really, really dodgy situations. And when you knew you could die, you know, I'm not exaggerating here. You know, you knew that this is really, really dangerous. And but the van survived. You know, it's amazing. The van survived, and it got back up the bloody hill, and they're up the mountain, and got me back down to here. So I'm very, very grateful. I prayed to gods that you've never heard of, and I'm sure I'll talk to Mum and Dad and ask them for help. But anyway, so that's my update. Talk to you soon.